Recently, I've had people ask me how to turn this into this, sprayed edges. And so today, we're going to do that with this and turn them into sprayed edges. A few things you're going to need are, well, paint, clamps, and some scrap wood or something to clamp with. Or you could always purchase your own book clamp. You can find them online, just search book clamps. There's a lot of them out there. I'm choosing to just use what I have available to me. So let's get started. First, I need to protect the cover. There's a few different ways to do this. One way is to simply put a piece of paper between the book and the press. It's pretty simple. Not always perfect though. Sometimes you can have some bleed. One of the ways I have found is simply using a little painter's tape on the cover. I like painter's tape because it will usually come apart without tearing up the cover itself. Now, as a side note, use caution. Your books may vary, so if you use this, I would strongly suggest testing it in a small spot first to make sure it peels back up properly. If not, you still have the paper method, and simply place it between the book and the press to stop the bleeding onto the cover. Now press the books between the pieces of wood in my case, or your book clamp. Make sure you protect the spines as well. As you can see, I pushed the tape in. You can actually see the spine coming through. That should prevent paint from leaking in there. Keyword should. So now the books are set up in their clamps with the tape in between to protect the covers. You can take different spray paints. I personally like this one because it does a really good job at coating and I don't have to overspray. One of the biggest cautions I can recommend is not to overspray. If you do, you're going to stick all the pages together. They're going to be impossible to take apart. You want to do a very light covering. Also do this in a well-ventilated area. As you can see, it didn't take much to coat almost everything I need to. If you want to do something else on top of that, as of stencils or otherwise decorations, you'll probably want for this, wait for this paint. All right, scratch that. If you're going to do stencils over this or other decorations, you should probably wait until the paint dries. Depending on the type of paint you use, it could take anywhere between 30 minutes to a full day. In my case, I'm going to use a little automotive paint to give it a bit of sparkle on the out. As a side note, this is actually a paint matching for my Mustang, and it has a super metallic-y finish to it, so I do enjoy using it, even though you can use almost anything that has a metallic base to it to get the results. They also sell metallic clear coats as well, and you can use those instead. You're not going to see the spray paint in here because this one's going to be held approximately 2 feet away just to get the glitter or the metallic look on the edges of the book. You'll also notice I do very short bursts. I don't want to actually paint those, I just want to give it the metallic shine. Now while that's drying, let's review why you saw me do short, quick bursts. If you go to paint and you hold it too close, you're going to get running. If you go too slow, you're going to get running. Now granted, this is just on a straight piece of paper and not the edges of the book. You want to avoid the running. So short and fairly quick burst held about 8 to 12 inches away is going to give you your best results. You'll probably also notice that I have a whole bunch of brown craft paper around everything. That's because of overspray. And you'll notice on my example here how that overspray went straight up and over the main line. Overspray will get on anything around, and unless you have it in an area where you don't mind, you're probably going to want to set up a barrier between what you're making and all your other stuff. And now that this has had some time to dry, I can do a quick test just by tapping on it with my finger to make sure it's not tacky anymore, which it is completely dry. I've given it plenty of time. And now it's time to release the clamp. First 2 clamps, last 2 clamps. removing of the painter's tape, which, like I said, you need to be very cautious. Take your time, it's not a race, to protect your cover. Now for the front side, I'm going to grab the corner, give it a slight pull back, and just slowly remove it. Your books may vary, so as a word of caution, you may want to test this on either a book that you're not worried about. Maybe you got one that was already damaged, but it's just a slow process. The green painter's tape is usually what I use. It seems to have the best results on removing. And again, I'm just going to grab a corner of the tape, pull it back, and work it off slowly. I've done this a few times without any issues thus far, but there's always a first time. There's something satisfying about removing tape. Boop, just like that. I wish I could show you examples of what happens when this doesn't go right, but so far I've had really good luck with the green painter's tape on my covers. Since they are from a matte finish, they come off fairly smooth. You can see, if I can get the light to cooperate here, there is no residue left. So now that we have one completely ready, let's do a quick example. So now we have our freshly deep taped and ready to go. Let's give it a quick fanning. As you see, came apart just nicely. I have seen people put a piece of paper between the cover and fold it over to protect the rest of it. I prefer the tape method because then I don't have any white lines on that little edge, because that cover is a little bit thicker than the rest of the paper. But of course, you can do what you like. One more time on the fanning. And you could hear it as it broke apart. There we go. And that's how I do sprayed edges. Hope you found it useful.